Hello friends, we are here in Acts chapter 8 today. There's a lot going on in chapter 8. It's not a very long chapter, but there's a lot going on. So in the very beginning, it talks about how, what just happened was the death of Stephen, and it mentions Saul here. And I was tempted to be ironic and be like, don't pay any attention to him. He's not very important to this book. But pretty soon, that character is going to be the main character in this story. At least, Jesus is the main character, but but you know, Saul takes center stage. So basically, what happens in the beginning, you know, they just stoned Stephen to death, and it said that Paul approved of it. And after then, I think it kind of was like free reign on the Christians. You know, they started with Stephen, and then basically they started going after other people. And Saul was a major part of this. He was very zealous for going out and persecuting the church because he thought he was doing a good thing. But what ends up happening here is I guess the main character of this chapter is a guy named Philip. Now Philip, there was two Philips. You know, there was a Philip that was one of the 12, but this is not the same Philip. This is the Philip that's one of the 7. There was basically essentially two sets of apostles here. You know, there was the original 12, and then there was the 7 who were part of the Hellenistic Jews. So the 7 go out, and they are more dispersed. I'm led to believe that the 12 kind of stayed in Jerusalem, but after all the persecution happened, it made everybody kind of split up and go to different places. And because that happened, Christianity started to spread to the surrounding areas of Jerusalem. And it's interesting, it said it in the beginning of this book. It said, you know, Jesus, as he is ascending, he says, you know, I want you to spread the word to, you know, here in Jerusalem, and then in Samaria, and then Judea, and then Samaria, and then to the uttermost parts of the earth. And so this is that being acted out. So Philip, because he's being persecuted, went over to Samaria. And there in Samaria, a bunch of people accepted Christ. And one of the people, his name was Simon the Magician. Some people call him Simon the Sorcerer. They're both great names if you ask me. One's an alliteration and the other's a rhyme. But we'll call him Simon the Magician for right now. And so it looks like Simon the Magician has what I see to be a true conversion. It's kind of a strange thing that's going on here, because when I look up sermons about this same topic, I see two different sides. You know, some people will say, you know, it wasn't a real conversion, and some people will say that it was. And I guess the best I can say as far as what this means is that it's not the point of the passage. You know, whether he was truly converted or truly not, it doesn't really matter. But it looked like it was. It said that he believed and that he was baptized. And after he believed and was baptized, Peter came down, because even though everybody had been saved and believed, the Holy Spirit had not come upon him, you know, come upon the church there. You know, the power of the Holy Spirit, you know, the extra supernatural power of the Holy Spirit didn't come upon the church. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, everybody, when you become a Christian, you receive the Holy Spirit. But this is not what it's you know, it's talking about the extra supernatural things. And Simon the magician, he sees it and thinks, whoa, that's like what I was doing before. He's like, I want this power. You know, I don't know if what he was doing before was just tricks, you know, like some magician of today. That's where I lean. Some people think that maybe he was working through demonic power. We don't know, but we know that he was a fake before, and now he's seeing the real thing and he wants it. And so he goes up to Peter and he offers him money so that he can lay hands on people and they can have the Holy Spirit. And I think what's probably more likely to be happening here is that magicians would trade secrets. And he was like, man, I could make a lot of money off of this. And Peter rebukes him harshly. He says, you have no part in this. And I think that's why people think that he wasn't really saved, because he said, you have no part in this. My take on that was that, you know, you won't get the, you know, the supernatural, you know, works of the Holy Spirit that causes you to do these works. And some would say it's the same thing. I'm not sure, you know. I'm not going to rest my hat on either camp here, but Simon the magician, it looks to me like he repents. You know, he says, you know, all these things that you're saying, I pray that these won't happen. So I think it's important to look at what is the point of this passage. And it is that Christianity isn't to be something that is used for personal gain. You know, it's not meant to be a way for you to become rich and famous. It's not something that you put on for anything other than a relationship with God. It is total hypocrisy, and I feel like it's happening over and over. Every chapter I get to, it's talking about, you know, hypocrisy. And so Peter recognizes it right away and says, no, that is not what Christianity is for. And, you know, this is a message that is very applicable to us today. You know, people still use Christianity for their own good. I heard recently that there is not a single president of the United States who has not claimed to be a Christian. And I don't know how many of them were actually Christians. You know, that's not for me to say, but I know it's not 100%. I know that a lot of people are taking it on just so they can get elected into office. And I don't think that'll always be true, but that's the way it's been so far. Now, on the flip side, you know, because they were Christians, they were kicked out of Jerusalem. They weren't kicked out, but, you know, the persecution led them out. So that was, you know, Philip went there. And then after he left Samaria, it said an angel came to Philip and he said, I want you to go to the road that leads to Gaza. And you'll meet an Ethiopian there. And so he goes there, and sure enough, there's what we call the Ethiopian eunuch, which meant that he was a high official. It means some other things too, but we'll just say that he was a high official, and that he was reading a scroll, which meant he was very wealthy. He was reading a scroll of the prophet Isaiah, and he was reading Isaiah 53, and Philip goes right up to him and says, do you know what this is talking about? Actually, it said that he asked him, is this prophet talking about himself or someone else? And so Philip was thinking, you know, what a great setup. I tell you what, I've been a Christian for a long time, and I've never had a setup like this. I've never had anybody just ask me the perfect question, but it just shows that the Holy Spirit was working not just in Philip, you know, and told him to go to this man, but the Holy Spirit was working on the Ethiopian eunuch as well. And he must have been working on the eunuch for a very long time, because for him to take the road from, you know, the capital of Ethiopia all the way to Jerusalem, just to worship God, not even knowing what Jesus was doing, it would have been pretty amazing. This must have been also a heartbreaking experience because, if you read the Torah, it actually prevents anybody who's a eunuch from coming into the holy place. So here he comes all this way, hoping to have some sort of experience with the true God, and he's turned away. And we know he's turned away because he's on the road leading, to Giza, which was Gaza. I'm sorry. The road to Gaza. Giza is a different place. He was on the road to Gaza, which means that he had already been there and he was now leaving. And Gaza is basically the last major stop before you go back into Ethiopia, before you hit the desert part. Anyway, he must have been really sad to be turned away, and maybe that's why God spoke to him. And so as soon as he received the word, they saw some water and he's like, why don't I be baptized right now? And he was. And after he was baptized, it's kind of amazing, this part, it said that Philip was taken away and the Ethiopian didn't see him anymore. It was almost like he just kind of disappeared, or was just, he was just taken away. The Holy Spirit was just like, you know what? Thanks, Philip. We need you somewhere else now. So it's important. It shows here that this would have been amazing to the people in the original time, because they didn't realize that this new thing that is happening, this is the first time it's going to the Gentiles. So as far as we know, the Samaritans, which are half Jews, that would have been, the first non-real Jews. And then the Ethiopian eunuch is someone, technically from a different continent. It's not that far, they're on the border of continents, but basically that's what's happening. So this is showing here that Christianity is for, it's for Jews, but it's also for Gentiles. And it really just shows us, how the Holy Spirit can speak to us and can really open up our hearts, and how much the Holy Spirit wanted this message to go out. So that is Acts chapter 8. All right, bye.